Welcome back to PCM Yeti episode 53. We're approaching that deadline, sponsorship, and for, of course, our signing period. But with that period approaching, what are our prospects like? Because we are on an expiring contract this year, and we've only had 3 teams even come in with interest at all, which is shocking. The good news is we have a performance barometer that is maxed out, and we are guaranteed to get an offer by the end of July. At this point, the only offer that's going to come in is to retain our current sponsorship. Now, the maximum we could have gotten, because they really are wanting a World Tour profile, and we just don't have that. In fact, we barely have that Continental Pro presence. So as a result, what they're offering, it's hard to get an increase, but we have done everything in our power. We've had at least a partial success in every single race. We have not failed any of them, except for we didn't gain an invitation to a race that was already on the calendar. That's weird. That was their invite, not our invite, and we didn't get it. That's rare to have that happen. We have gotten exactly 15 victories thanks to Qinghai Lake and our success there, and as a result, the profile is as high as it can get. So hopefully, at the very least, we will maintain, and I would like to see at least a small increase on what we're going to be bringing in, but because they aren't overly pleased by being a Continental Pro team to begin with, I don't see it going up a lot. I really would have liked to have moved on to another sponsor with similar value or somewhat increased value, and that has not been the case. So a little unfortunate, but hopefully we could at least break even. It would really suck to have a very, very, very successful season and lose money from the sponsor because they want us in World Tour and we're just simply not there. Sure enough, on deadline day, out of nowhere comes an offer from our existing sponsor. Still have the maximum performance barometer. We did everything they asked. We had the maximum score possible. And it turns out the reason why my maximum offer from the previous 3 was $1,030,000 was, well, because that apparently is the most we can get based on the sponsor objectives for the year. So we're going to see a decrease, which drives me nuts. We're going to have less money next year than we had this year, despite having an incredibly successful season, simply because no matter what objective we were going for, the sponsor was not going to be happy with it. Difference, though, at least, is next year, as long as we secure that top 2 or 3 position and we get an abundance of World Tour races, doesn't matter that we're only Continental Pro, our sponsor will be much happier with the options, and as a result, we're going to get better than a 35-21 rating from them and should see an actual increase next year regardless of who our sponsor is. Our first big signing isn't a signing at all, but it's a major progression for us, as our 3rd best rider has become our best rider and our first 5-star rider. Edvin Hagland has continued his rapid progression, and he has had one hell of a level up. 12 points, 12 attribute points gained overall, some of them in weaker areas. A cobble rating of +1, an acceleration of +1, his resistance, which is fine to have, a +1. Flat rating, definitely good to have, as a +2. But his other points, oh, they've come in a good way. His mountain, his medium mountain, and his hills rating have all jumped to a 77. So perfectly balanced. He can climb on any type of profile in the very good category now at a 77. He was a 73, 74, 73, 75, 76 before. So he gained a total of 7 points. And that mountain rating in particular is going to make him a lot more competitive in GC with a +4 from where it was. And with that solid time trial already of a 74, prologue of a 76, he's got the basis to do extremely well. He's not a sprinter, not worried about it. His cobble rating, tolerable. He's not going to get caught out on that kind of stage. A 68 is going to get you by more often than not, especially with a full team working for you. You're going to lose little to no time. So the time trial, the mountain ratings can make that final push to get him into not just very good, but into elite categories. I think we can go back to training him for Grand Tours or for stage races, Haglund should now have the evolution into a much higher category for us and score a lot more points. He's only third best on the team this season scoring points. He's been good, hasn't been great. But with these kind of ratings now, I think there's a lot more Haglund's going to be capable of doing. And so before going into a single signing, we have enough already to maintain our position in Continental Pro. Haglund at 5 stars, G and Shaw at 4.5 stars each should definitely do the job to make us pretty comfortable within the field. But we have a lot of expiring contracts, intent to bring just a few of them back, and definitely some new faces coming to the team for next year. Mid-July, the final dossier period, I threw in a last minute. I had to save up points for quite a while to even get there. But of all the older veteran riders that were available, none of them were cheap on dossiers. None of them were actually interested in signing with the team. So it was pretty low chances that anything would work. But in that final dossier period, we finally had enough points, threw a dossier at Mihaljevic, gained 10% in just that couple of weeks, but that still wasn't enough to get him into the happy zone. So he is not going to be signable, which means that the limited options are going to make it a little easier. And with those limited options, it's 100% for each and every one of them. So our choices are going to be able to sign with us on the cheap, which is good, especially since we had a decrease in money and not an increase. So my first targets are going to be Shui and Zhu. Lubers I want back, but it's not as important that we try to sign him. But Shui is definitely a big prospect as a climber. So let's see if we can get him signed back on. I think at 22 and where he's at, I think now would be a perfect time to go for that 3-year deal and lock him down long term. That's weird. 100% interest, but no, not 100% interested. So he's taken a bit of a hit. He's not happy with being a teammate, but let's bump him to a luxury and let's see where we're at. We're going to get 4 chances. We're very close. 3K, I can definitely get Shui signed, so we're good there. But this is a bit concerning. After signing Shui, we only have 24K left. We had 27,000. With the decrease, 2,500 per rider times 10 would be virtually all of that. So I think we're going to have a hard time signing 9, especially when Zhu is guaranteed to have a pretty healthy increase in what he's making. And while he's not been perfect, he has gotten results under the right circumstances. And it looks like at this point we have maxed out Zhu's top speed. I think we could definitely work on his flat rating. Yeah, he's already working on that. Boy, I don't know. I have a feeling he's going to ask for about 15. Let's see what it's like. We don't have to sign him. I'd like to sign him. He will raise our profile. He's already looking for 15 and not happy with 15. Try as a sprinter, not the absolute, just as a sprinter, and kind of go from there. He's happy with 2 years. Let's see what this does. I'm not too thrilled by this situation at all, but it does bump up our index. It does raise it from 20th to 17th temporarily. I don't think we're going to feature World Tour, and I think we're fine without Zhu, but it's not somebody I want to let go either. I mean, he's got 18 victories. He just won 3 stages and an overall at Qinghai Lake. It's just not something you want to walk away from. But I don't think we're going to have much of a choice. Retaining him is going to be out of the cards here. And it would have taken 17.8. We don't have 18K to pay Zhu. A really disappointing year from a sponsor perspective. They have decreased our funding despite being very successful, and they have cost us one of our key riders. Well, that definitely takes a bit of the pressure off of the other signings. I think the only other big-time signing who might be cost us a bit more is Kevin Lin. I suppose we should get in there and just see what it is he wants. This is more of a Barrador type, but classics, time trialing, support. Lots of 70s, really good stamina, but really not a great rider. He's coming off of a minimum contract, but at 4.5 stars, you figure he's going to be a bit more than that this time. 6K. I think this is going to be one of those workable contracts. He wants a longer contract. He's at 22. I'm thinking he's going to be a 3-year and done kind of guy. Not a fan of being a luxury teammate, so we'll make him an important rider. Don't want to bump him up too much when he's really a Barrador. Let's see. We get 4 chances. We'll see what that 6K does. That's enough to sign him. Lade is actually good enough to join our top 3 as well, but not as highly rated as Zhu. Our index will go from 20th to 19th. Our future replacement for Zhu is going to be Salah. 73 flat already, good resistance, recovery, and acceleration, but his overall sprint is just a 67. But he's got a lot of potential. He's a little more well-rounded than Zhu ever will be, and that should help us out. But 5-star potential is all. 5-star overall is all. But that's a little bit better than Zhu. He's just a long ways from it now. He's only got 2 career victories. And at 21, I figure he's probably already going to have a few levels in him, which means he's not going to level up terribly fast either. But at least we can sign him for a minimum. Meanwhile, youth development prospect Vasilevsky is somebody who's a little more well-rounded, but not much. It's more just he's got some time trialing capability, but otherwise the same type of profile, already 22. But a little bit further along, especially in the top speed area, a 74 in that department, 73 on the flat, lacking in the other areas just a little bit. But that will replace Lubers essentially, and it should be a pretty easy minimum contract signing. Not happy with teammates, so we'll give him luxury, and that's enough to get him signed. Here's the profile for Lubers, and you can see why it's a good choice not to bring him back. Both of the guys we just signed are significantly better, and other than giving up a 74 flat, we're really not giving up much in Lubers at all. He's already 22 as well. Just doesn't have much more potential left in him. I mean, most of the attribute points he's going to pick up are just in the sprint, and maybe enough to be an early lead-out guy, but never amount to much more than a domestique as it is. So better prospects. He was making 3K too. So analyzing the remaining list, Torres is somebody we haven't looked at yet. He's also the weakest and overall weakest in terms of potential. I think you can see from the profile here, we don't need to bother with Torres. So that's our top 2 riders out. That's our bottom 2 riders out. Salah was already at 100%, so I never did get to opening a dossier, but without Miholjevic, we're fine. We've got those points back, so we could essentially talk to everyone. But there are just 7 in all. We've signed 4 of them. So the 3 that remain are Haddad, Harasim, and Zayats. Let's start from the bottom of the list again. And Zayats looks like a great prospect, really strong climber, pretty good time trialist too. He's not going to have as much, completeness to him as some of the other riders, but this is quality you don't want to pass up on. Even though he's young at 19, he should develop pretty quickly into something stronger, and that's going to be our second Belarusian rider signed in just a little bit. This is one of those, do I want to do a 1-year deal and then turn around and sign him? He's only going to max out at 4.5. It's fine. We'll do the 3 years immediately. Will he take a teammate deal? He does. Well, on to Harasim. Harasim's already 24, so he's going to be through a lot of the levels he's going to have, but you can see he's not that far from completing his web, and definitely a more well-rounded, stronger climber who's a little bit quick. 72 is not that fast, but you add another 5 points to that and he can be decently fast. He's already got the 74 flat, so there's your immediate Lubers replacement. And essentially we're taking out 2 sprinters and replacing them with 3 guys, but of course you're not getting as much back without Shu there. But you have 3 guys that all have the potential to be as good, if not better, than Shu all around. Well, really have the ability to be better, all 3 of them, than Zhu. It's just they're not yet there on that max speed stuff. Harasim looks like he's probably not going to reach his maximum if he's already 24, but certainly weaker than the other 2, but worth signing on to, especially for the domestique part that he'll provide us from the get-go. I'm going to only do a 2-year deal on him, though, as he's certainly not a guarantee, and this will offset things a little bit. We've got too many guys kind of tied into that particular year, and he'll sign for 2. And so already we're down to the final rider on the list. We're also down to 8.3K left in potential salary spending. So no, even if I had bumped that 1 more K to get Shu to agree, we were nowhere near getting him and all these other guys signed. And all these other guys are essentially better than Zhu potential-wise. Current, well, that's a different matter, and it's going to hurt to lose that current, but it is going to hurt to lose Zhu. But he's been as many headaches as he's been anything else. Haddad has 7 career victories already and is a decent climber, 75 on that medium mountain, already some good stamina, and he's definitely got some more potential to be a good climber. He's going to be a good support climber. This is not going to be a leader for us, but it's good to add another climber to the team, especially if we can sign him on a minimum and just 22 with potential. I'm going to do the 3 years. Not a fan of luxury teammate. We can try an important rider. Salary's not going to go for 2.5, but it's not going to cost us much more than... the 3K got us so close. 3.5 it is. And with just 4.8K to spare. In terms of quality, Lind gives us an almost immediate replacement to Zhu. In terms of sprinting, 3 guys have better all-around potential and similar high-end speed potential to Zhu. In terms of the lead out that Lubers is given away, and the other guys were definitely weaker. I've got 9 expiring contracts, and only 3 of them were even looked at. And in the end, we're only going to re-sign 1 of 9 expiring contracts. That's crazy. 1 out of 9. So 8 guys leaving us, 6 replacements coming in place of those 8. Little drop off without Zhu, but we really have kind of direct replacements and growth of depth within the team otherwise. Good prospects that we've picked up this time. I think we're in fairly good shape outside of it would have been nice to have Zhu back as well. If we had had a healthy increase in the budget, that would have definitely been an available thing. We took, 7 contracts, right? 6 of them are for the 3 years, so we won't have 9 guys expiring that next time around. 6 is a good number. I think you kind of want about 6 each year, right? 18 riders. Eventually you get to World Tour, bump that to about 21, get to 7 riders each year. It's definitely a better balance. So our next race is Tour of Norway, and we have a -17 draw. This has been happening a lot lately. I haven't checked except for a couple individual riders, and they were totally fine. I think I need to go through and check the team for fatigue. I certainly have not had a vacant season when it came to objectives. Barely August. And we did a lot of not racing from the end of March through June. July was a little busier, but there was a lot of guys that only raced a couple days. Like, there shouldn't be fatigue, but we seem to be suffering horribly from fatigue, or I've really just had bad luck. Regardless, we've got to try to do the job with what we have, and our best climbers are all negative. Abdullah, G, Zipinati combined have a minus a lot. -11. Wang's out the back, okay. But Shui and Giotti are struggling here. Oh, okay, they were both riding protection. This is what's left at the front. Our 3 guys, our 3 leaders that were protected, and they're all struggling. 4K still from the top of this thing. It's very steep right now, but it's going to ease off for a moment. Now it's inside 3K. In fact, it's down to 2.5. But here comes the attack, the acceleration, and this is the thing you're going to have to respond to, right? Abdullah, are you still there? Okay. G, definitely looking like your leader. Zipinati would be otherwise, but no, he's struggling. Right now, this is all about not losing time to these guys. And so Zipinati going to do some work, and then onto Abdullah, and Zipinati try to follow. Abdullah's done too. Ay, ay, ay. About to go over the top. We've not made contact, but there is a chase. This is all apparently a break from the favorite group. This peloton is somewhere behind us. Zipinati got dropped. He's in a chase group. They are back in contact. I want him to get back in line. In fact, second in line. Sprint. Yeah, G ahead of Abdullah. So Zipinati is going to have to get to the front. 6K. Onto Abdullah. Zepinati, just try to follow. Don't lose time. 44 riders. Come on, Abdullah. Get forward. Get forward. Here comes a late attack, too, that we've got to respond to. 3K. Zepinati hanging in there for the time being. 2.5K to go, though. He's going to struggle there at the end. Soft sprint for Abdullah. Well, hard sprint, turning into a soft sprint. And G will have the final kilometer to attack. Can he get a top 3? There's definitely about 5 riders in contention. Looks like we're going to get that top 3. And Zepinati, very close. Wood takes a win. Rondell wins the throw. G clearly looked to be ahead, but Rondell wins the throw. G gets third, so we gain 4 seconds. Zepinati is there. Abdullah is there. So our 3 key guys are going to be on the same time. And it looks like we've got about 44 riders left in contention after the first stage here in Norway. So checking in on the team and the fatigue. We had a big reset, and this is, I think, going to be the case for a lot of the riders in June. But we're talking about Abdullah having, 15% fatigue? Altengerl, Chang, G. Giotti has a little bit of fatigue, but that's partially because he's about to hit his fitness peak. In fact, he's supposed to be on it right now. It's Arctic Tour of Norway. Though he's only just beginning the process. Wow, okay. And next objective, none. He hit it too early, I think. And it ended already? Gottstein just finished his fitness peak, and his fatigue has dropped to nothing. Grunland is very low. Hagland is very low. Hallinen, Lubers, Montez, Pickrell, Ponamar, Shaw, Wang, Zhu, a little bit. He just had a fitness peak and is moving kind of right on to the next one. Jouet, Zepinati. We don't have fatigue. We had 8 stages for Qinghai Lake. 7 of them were awful. Well, 5 of them were awful draws. 2 of them were bad draws, and 1 of them was a slight positive. And then we hit our next race, and the first day of racing is atrociously bad again, and we cannot blame the fatigue for it. Fatigue is not the issue. I have spread out the objectives well enough. They are not an issue. Zhu might run into an issue. He did not get a recovery as he's going to move from one objective into the next, but he doesn't have a lot of fatigue right now. He'll just get some later. So, yeah, bad luck. Bad luck it is. But that is all the time that I have for this episode. We have 3 more stages of Tour of Norway. We're going to be in Poland for a World Tour race, first in quite a while on the calendar. It's going to have been about 4 months since we had our last, and yet despite that, we've still managed to push back up into second and close in on the World Tour leader in terms of points. And next season, if we do get the top couple 2 spots, it's going to be so easy to maintain because you're going to have a full slate of World Tour races on your hand, and with how we perform in those, it'll be very easy to keep a top spot. For now, with a very limited World Tour calendar, it's much harder than it will be next year. That's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.